What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Massive Attack. And we're returning to Protection 1994. Thank you again to Stephan. And the penultimate tune in the folder is Heat Miser. I'm amused by the title. It has an intriguing and a bit poetic quality to it. Obviously, heat relates to temperature, which in turn, on a physical, like chemical level, is in reference to molecular motion. The lower amount of molecular motion, the less heat. Of course, that in the human world can often relate to figurative or metaphorical understandings of passion or energy or dynamic interaction between people. But miser relates to something, or a person rather, that is not spending money or currency, but hoarding it, being especially frugal to the point of the connotations being negative. So put the two together and it suggests someone who perhaps is not forthcoming with heat or with energy or with emotional warmth. Now, given that a number of their tunes I've heard so far are not so much about a full narrative per se, some of them have been certainly, but a couple of the tracks are more about like vibes and atmosphere than I would say a full coherent narrative. I don't know if we'll get a definitive answer, and even if we do, I don't know if I'll be able to pick it up on a first listen. But yeah, it's a really interesting title and suggests a vibe where maybe heat is not being liberally applied or expressed, but is withheld or hoarded over. Either way, I'll see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is Massive Attack. The track is Heat Miser, and it's from their 1994 album Protection. Oof. That is a stunning piece of music. That's a contender instantly for my favorite track by them. And they weren't even aided by compelling vocals like they have been on a number of other tunes. I mean, that's incredible. That's the kind of track that I use in my ambient excursion mixes. And like some of the best Sybient I've heard, I wouldn't call this Sybient, I'd call it like jazzy down tempo. But like a lot of the best Sybient that I'm familiar with and use in that mix series, it has both like extraterrestrial and yet incredibly human qualities. And as I'm listening, and after a minute or so, I got a sense maybe this is going to be an instrumental, which it turned out to be. I'm thinking about some of the sonics in relation to the title, and so that piano line, which my first thought is, oh, it reminds me a bit of that like famous Halloween theme, like from the Halloween movies. But yeah, it had a bit of a cold, like vulnerable or even dangerous quality to it. Then those jazzy chords that come in eventually, they had a bit of a cool and calm character to them. So I'm thinking about low molecular motion, but then that dynamic bass line, which eventually starts flaring up and getting a bit more intense, that has the sound of a bit of heat. So like just in terms of those ingredients, I'm thinking like there's heat here, but it's not being dramatically or powerfully or intensely distributed. It is like one element that is seemingly held in reserve, while a lot of cool melodic elements are actually the most pervasive aspects of the track. But just the way those like rhythmic elements, which number one, there's that first like down-tempo percussive rhythm, then it seems to get a bit enhanced and it has this like down-tempo kick beat. But even before that and throughout the track, there's that rhythmic respiration. So there's technically like human vocal sounds, quote unquote, in the track, but they serve a rhythmic and percussive quality rather than a vocal and lyrical function. So yeah, it's a really incredible tune for all its ingredients, the way it comes together. The piano flourishes when it really starts going. The string flourish like in conjunction with those keyboard melodic strings. Incredible, fantastic. And I'm glad that I'm still working on my next ambient excursion, because I really think I've got to include this. There's a Deep Tronica track I need to put in there, because I talked about that with the previous Deep Tronica reaction. Shout out to Vince Clark as well as to Mr. Solo who's sharing it. There's a Rezondu track which I have used like years ago in an ambient excursion, but Michaela mentioned that one and I feel like that one's due to come back around. So those two tracks plus this one, I think you're going to hear them in my upcoming ambient excursion, which I've already sort of thought about the samples. I think I'm going to call it Vanquish the Impossible, from a sample set from the final episode in Carl Sagan's Cosmos. But this is on that level, which is to say, again, Sybient is one of my most enjoyed music genres because I find it so profound. There's so many Sybient tracks which again have this cosmic sound mixed with an inherently emotional and anthropological quality, and I feel that here mixed with again a bit of a jazzy feel and maybe with some conceptual meaning in relation to the track title. But yeah, a stunning track. Absolutely love that one. Instantly one of my favorite from Massive Attack, if not my immediate favorite. So yeah, once again, I'm enjoying this journey. This was a special one. Shout out to Stephan. Let me know what you think, and I will see you for the next one. Peace.